We're going to talk a little bit about the four-wheel drive performance of the EarthCruiser, because that is such a key component of overland travel, is the ability to get remote. And one of the things that we know about getting remote is that terrain is unpredictable. Weather is unpredictable, conditions can change. For example, we're in the middle of a burned out area in Central Oregon, and we just traveled a trail that I would classify as a 2.5 rated, which means high clearance, stock vehicle, preferably with a locking differential. We encountered deep mud, we encountered deep snow, we encountered crossed axle terrain, embedded rocks, everything that kind of taxes a vehicle. And to consider the fact that we can do a trail like this with the level of comfort and convenience and long-term on-the-road suitability that we have with the EarthCruiser, that starts to say something about this platform. Now, what are the things that we really need for four-wheel drive performance? We need tractive performance, which means we have to have the right kind of tires, and we have to have locking differentials if possible. This vehicle has Dynatrac axles, front and rear Dynatrac 80s. It's their Pro Rock version, which maximizes ground clearance. Extremely strong. The whole axle assembly is extremely strong because it's designed for competitive rock crawling. Very robust, and they're fitted with air locking differentials in the front and the back. All right, so we're going to start with a little walk around of the EarthCruiser. From the front here, we have an ECB bumper. This is a traditional Australian style bull bar, really important for animal strike protection of the front end of the vehicle. We've got a Warn 16.5 winch, which is appropriately sized for this truck. Some really nice Vision X lighting, which we used on the trail. And another thoughtful feature was this front-facing camera, which you would use in a country where you were driving on the wrong side of the road for what the vehicle is based on. That way you could see for passing. I'm putting a lot of faith in the camera, but that is a nice little additional safety feature of the vehicle. All right, from the side of the vehicle, we can see the Warn locking hubs, method wheels. These are not real bead locks. That may be something to consider if you were using this vehicle in really, really soft conditions like snow and a lot of sand. You may want to go with a real bead lock, but this does protect the outer part of the wheel. And then we've got a 37 by 13.5 Toyo Open Country. This is their more aggressive mud terrain style tire, which I actually found was a great fit to this vehicle. It was impressive not only how durable they were given the terrain we went over, but how much tractive performance we got out of it as well. This is the traditional cab over entry, so you've got to kind of step on the step or on the hub, and you grab this ladder here for accessing the inside of the vehicle. Definitely something you get used to, you kind of get into a routine with. Some of the other things I thought was really thoughtful is this brush bar system. So they designed it where when you hit a limb, particularly up higher, the limb is brought up and along the top of the rack, and then it kind of helps it get up on top of the camper as well. And then this ladder allows you to access the rack up on top for lightweight equipment and gear. All right, from the side here, we can see the Dometic windows. I believe they are moving towards the turn overland style windows, which are proving to be a little more reliable. And then we've got side lighting, which can be illuminated manually or can be turned on by infrared heat, which is a really thoughtful safety feature as well. We've got a large lower storage compartment, and then we can also see the exhaust for the Airtronic heater. All right, from the side here, we can see the water fills. These are locked for safety, which is good. That way people can't tamper with them. This is actually tank number 2, which is a forward bladder that's stored underneath the dinette. So it's in a space in the dinette. It allows it to be very lightweight, and it comes in at 30 gallons of capacity, although we were never able to get it quite to 30. We were always showing more like 28 gallons or so, which just might be how it's being measured from the measuring device. And then we've got, this is tank number 1 in the rear, which is a stainless steel tank that is actually visible from inside this locker, and that's at 40 gallons. And that was the main tank that we worked off of. And I think it's actually a really clever design because it doesn't put all of the water in one basket, so to speak. So if you had a water tank failure, or if somebody left open a tap, or there was a leak, you wouldn't lose all of your water if you were remote. You'd only lose either 30 gallons or 40 gallons at a time, which I think is very thoughtful. And you can set that all up, and I'll show you the valves that allow you to differentiate between the different tanks.
Okay.
So actually quite a bit of storage capacity in the EarthCruiser. These can all be locked, obviously. I thought this was thoughtful. It turns them all into tables, which is great for outside cooking, etc. I store a lot of my camera, podcasting equipment inside here. You can see the stainless steel tank in the back. And then there's the gray water tank, which is here, and that can also be heated just in case for freezing, which I thought was really thoughtful. But a lot of pass-through storage as well for longer items. So on the right side, we have a storage locker. This will actually take up to 6 5-gallon fuel tanks. It's designed to carry that kind of weight. I think having a couple of them would be a good idea, given the 60-gallon capacity of fuel. For North America, I think 60 gallons is more than enough. But for international travel, longer distances, you may need to carry some additional fuel. I've also got recovery kit and stuff back here as well. And we got a set of 4 max tracks, which on a vehicle like this is a great idea. I think if you're going to get stuck in an EarthCruiser, it's going to be in soft conditions. So having a couple max tracks is a good idea. And then you can also use those for leveling in camp, which is a good idea. So here we have some of the water system. This is a gravity drain spout that allows you to completely drain out a tank for cleaning or for winterizing. And then this is your drafting point. So this pump is powerful enough to pull about a 12 to 14 foot draft. So you can hook up a hose there and pull out of another water source, clear stream or a water tank, etc. And then underneath we can see that they've got a thoughtful spot for a shovel and a heavy duty skid plate for that 60-gallon fuel tank. The wind is really picking up here in Central Oregon. We're just outside of Bend Camp. This is another one of the storage lockers. It does have the pass through to the other side. And this is where you access all of the water systems. So you can switch manually between tank 1 and tank 2. You can initiate a draft. You can also completely drain out the tanks from there. You have access to a filtered water source back here as well. And then one of those Israeli style outside showers for hosing down any of your gear that's gotten dirty. So now that we've gone through the outside, let's see what there is on the inside. So the first thing that you access when you come inside the EarthCruiser is the shower and toilet area, which is good use of space because this needs to be a hallway anyways. It's an entry point to the vehicle. So you have a low step in so you don't hit your head on the door frame. And that low step in is also the shower pan. And it has a burper system that anytime it senses water, it starts to pull the water out and up into the gray water tank. And then this door here allows access to the composting toilet, which I've not used one for any length of time. This is the first time I've used one on a trip. And I have to say that I am totally sold on this system. It works extremely well. You're dealing with much less waste overall. And you're not having to do those every other day, every third day, grab the cassette, go into a pit toilet or go into a bathroom and drain it. So it's actually no smells, which is shocking. It has a very large urine capacity. And then we've gone for weeks of just handling human waste without having to change it out once. So you just unlock this here and it slides out. And urine goes in the front, solids go in the rear, and then there is a handle on the side that you use to turn it, so it keeps everything all turning. You use peat moss, or you can use coconut husk, etc., to go in with the human waste side of it. But really impressive overall. I mean, you can go easily 3 or 4 days, even just on the urine capacity.
So really, really great system. I'm enjoying using that compared to the septic tanks. And then we've got a small capacity sink with a removable nozzle that allows you to use that for showering. So you have access to hot water here. You have a kind of a dry storage area, toilet paper, spot to stick flip-flops, and a bunch of the quick access switches that you need for operating the inside of the cabin. So this is the small galley area, which I have found to be more than sufficient. The sink location is a little close to the bed, so you got to be careful with water splashing onto the bedding. Another reason why it's good to go with synthetic. This rear sink we didn't use at all on the trip. It's too small. It actually just makes a great little storage area, which is what we ended up using it for. Also, the first time that I've used induction cooking while camping out of a camper. It's always been diesel cooktops or gas cooktops, and it works really good. The vehicle has so much battery capacity, 800 amp hours, and significant solar, and then you can also run the engine if you need to keep things charged up. But we actually didn't need to do that at all on the trip while we were in camp. But this, with the right pan, this induction cooktop is super quick. It quickly boils water, less than a minute. It's pretty amazing how effective it is. And then we've got some more storage lockers as well. These are all super convenient. Nice touches like subway tile in the back, pretty high quality finishes throughout. So at the rear of the EarthCruiser is, I would say, between a double and a queen size bed, a very thick mattress. It may require a topper for someone that's a side sleeper, for example. Relatively firm mattress overall. And then underneath the bedding, which, by the way, this is a quick plug for one of my favorite double sleeping bags made by Nemo. So it's got synthetic fill, which allows it to be thrown in a regular laundromat as you're out traveling. But underneath the bed, you can actually access a ton of storage. So weeks worth of clothing. There's this center section where you can stick clothing items that need to go to the laundry, for example. So there's a ton more storage back here too. If you slide the shower wall forward, there's 5 large drawers that allow you to keep personal effects, etc. And then there is a step that comes down. It just makes it a little bit easier to get in and out of the bed. And then it's an interesting pass-through through the water tank is this large storage bin as well. Personally, I would probably not have that drawer, and I would allocate all that extra space for water. The kitchen also has storage throughout, so there's a 110 outlet here with some USB charging. It's also got a Bluetooth Bose speaker, which has been more than sufficient inside the vehicle. And then drawer after drawer of storage in the galley. Personally, I think I would want to have fewer of the shallow drawers and maybe one thicker drawer for pans, etc., or have some change in configuration overall with that. The isotherm fridge, when we first started looking at it, it didn't look like it had a lot of space. It didn't look like it had good utilization of space, but it's actually got a ton of room if you take advantage of all of it. And it's got these little racks here. There's a slide out rack as well, where we can keep things crisp. It also has a full freezer for keeping fish and other things ready to go, and a couple little storage racks and places for liquids, etc. You can kind of pile it up. You got to watch when things slide out, but there's actually a lot of room in this fridge. So this is the main panel for all of the systems. It's becoming popular in campers for these to be hidden out of the way, and I actually like the fact that it's not. I like the fact that it's all very accessible. It's easy to get a sense for how things are performing. We're able to wake up the monitoring system after a full night of camping. Our battery is at 67%, and that is after heating a lot of water, which heating the water is also done electrically as well. So using the induction cooktop, heating gallons and gallons of hot water, all with electrical power, we're still at 67%. And right now we're actually creating power. We're at 1.44 amps positive, and I'm sure that's because the hot water heater is working, etc. But we're pulling enough power in from the solar, and that's on a cloudy day, so that's pretty good, I would say. These are all of our breakers for all of the systems. Many of the systems are used in conjunction with breakers and the switches on the load itself, but I find that having all of this very accessible and visual is important. I can toggle through the tank volumes, which our gray water tank is empty, and shows what the house batteries are at voltage-wise, starting battery voltage, any current state of discharge of the starting battery, and then tank 1 is at 0 because we're getting ready to give the vehicle back, so we've been draining down the tanks. We've also got some USB outlets, 12-volt outlets, 120. This has a massive inverter on it. I would say it's probably at least 3,000 watts of continuous power. And then this is the air-top heater system, which is really the only system during the weeks that we've used the vehicle that's given us any trouble. So this Webasto air-top has not proven to be totally reliable on this trip. So these are my conclusions on the EarthCruiser. Spent several weeks with the vehicle, and it started off with a proper vehicle delivery. They do thorough training with the vehicle. We actually did four-wheel drive training in the field with the owner, Lance, and got a full sense of all of the systems, because this is a complex vehicle at the end of the day. But what it allows for the traveler to do is live comfortably on the road. It is easy to dismiss vehicles like this until you actually want to spend weeks or months or years traveling. The one consistent piece of feedback that I get from global travelers like Dan Grech or Graham Bell and others is they all recognize the need to have a space to live inside if you're going to be traveling for years at a time. And an EarthCruiser would allow you to travel full time. It was very comfortable. I feel like I could just keep going. In fact, I want to just keep going in this vehicle and start heading south into Mexico and places beyond that. It would be very easy to do. There are a few things that make the EarthCruiser the kind of vehicle that I would buy. So the thing that I like most about it is compact overall dimensions for how much living space there is. That's because of the cab over configuration. It has a raising roof, which allows it to go in very challenging terrain with low branches, rock overhangs, etc. So it's a relatively low vehicle overall. Excellent four-wheel drive performance, great low range, locking differentials, large diameter tires. All of that results in backcountry capability, which is what I want to do. I want to get further than the motorhomes and the fifth wheels and the day campers. I want to get back into the back of beyond and then live and work and travel comfortably in the backcountry. And that's what something like an EarthCruiser really allows. Now, for international travel, this fits in a container, which is a big deal. It has a gasoline motor, which currently is a big deal because ultra low sulfur diesel is not available everywhere in the world. So having a gas motor is a big deal. So I would say that the EarthCruiser is the kind of vehicle that you would take around the world comfortably. Issues with the vehicle were very minimal. A couple of them was just learning the systems. We did have some trouble with the heater and some other minor issues. None of it was related to the EarthCruiser construction or quality of work. These were installed systems that weren't working properly. But overall, very impressive vehicle on the trail and as a traveling companion for the Overlander.